Good afternoon, everyone. I need to start by thanking my PhD cohort so much for nominating me to be the PhD student speaker. And I'd like to tell you all a story today about people. It starts in 2014 when I got an internship in San Francisco. I spent my whole life in New York, so going across the country for an internship was a pretty big move. Such a big move that I had to consult one of the most important people in my life, which is my grandma. Full disclosure, Grandma told me not to go. She insisted that Long Island, New York was actually the biotech hub of America, and she would start a company next to her house where I could intern so I could stay closer to home. But after some convincing that this wasn't the case, Grandma gave me her blessing to go to California, and also contact information from my cousin Vinny and his wife Susanna, who lived in the Bay Area. I had never met Vinny before. It was actually my second cousin once removed, or Susanna, but I took the phone number and went to San Francisco with pretty much zero intention of reaching out to this random middle-aged couple. Throughout the summer, I stayed in contact with Grandma to tell her about my exciting experiences in San Francisco. She was happy to hear my internship was going well and I was making friends, but she also strongly encouraged me to reach out to Vinny and Susanna before I left San Francisco. So to make Grandma happy, I texted Vinny and Susanna, expecting we would meet for a quick cup of coffee or a polite lunch. But to my surprise, Vinny and Susanna suggested nothing of the sort. Instead, they suggested we all take a trip to the Muir Woods together. For those of you who don't know, the Muir Woods is a national monument of California, home to the redwood trees that are up to 300 feet tall and hundreds of years old. Before leaving for my internship, so many people had told me about how magical the redwood trees are and that I had to see them while I was living in San Francisco. So going with Vinny and Susanna felt like it would kill two birds with one stone, and I accepted their offer. The majestic redwood trees would absolutely live up to their hype. However, the most memorable part of this experience was the drive from San Francisco to the Muir Woods. As I mentioned, I never met Vinny and Susanna before. For all intents and purposes, I willingly agreed to hop in a car with some strangers, be taken to the middle of the woods for an adventure, which for those of you who know me is pretty on brand. So I got in the car with Vinny and Susanna, we introduced ourselves, and I braced myself for what I assumed would be a fairly awkward car ride. But thankfully this wasn't the case. Vinny and Susanna asked me about my experience in San Francisco, and the people I met. Much like Grandma, they were happy to hear that I was enjoying myself and making the most of my summer on the West Coast. Our conversation even inspired them to tell me some of their stories from their traveling around the world. Admittedly, I don't remember the specifics of their stories, but what stuck with me was that all of their stories were framed around the people they met. Specifically, they described their lives as a series of experiences where they collected people. And I remember thinking this was a very peculiar phrasing, but they explained it to me beautifully. Vinny and Susanna had many chapters in their lives, and each chapter was filled with exciting experiences that they shared with people. Sometimes they were old friends, other times they were complete strangers who became cherished companions. Regardless, the people they shared the experiences with brought a richness to their lives, and they kept those individuals as part of their collection. I learned two really important lessons from Vinny and Susanna during that car ride, which I think are important for all of us here today. First, I realized that I had begun to develop my own collection of people from my internship and college. These friendships didn't need to end when I left San Francisco or when I graduated. Instead, I could work to make sure these friendships spanned many chapters and evolved along the way. In doing so, I'd be able to keep my own collection of people as the story of my life unfolded. We've all accrued a fabulous collection of people: family, childhood friends, college crews, grad school gangs, med school mates who saw us for who we were, challenged us to expand our thinking, and we're proud of who we grew into. These people, some of whom are in the audience with us today, supported us through our journeys to become doctors, and they'll continue to support us. We're not entering our next chapters alone, because all of us will have a collection of people cheering us on. So remember to take your collections with you and work hard to maintain them. Second, I realized that my collection wasn't finished. Vinny and Susanna were in their 60s when I met them, and some of their anecdotes were within that year. They had very recent stories of new friends they were meeting around the world and amazing adventures they were sharing. In their 60s, they were developing deep, meaningful friendships that continued to help them learn and grow as people. In the same spirit, our collections aren't finished. We'll move on to postdocs, residencies, and other exciting endeavors where we'll encounter countless individuals. Future friends who can laugh with us until we cry, encourage us when times are difficult, and challenge us to be the best versions of ourselves. So remember to keep an open mind, don't be afraid to add new pieces to your collection, and don't be hesitant about being added to someone else's collection either. As I stand before you all today, I hope that we can take these lessons from Vinny and Susanna with us as we graduate from Mount Sinai and begin our journeys as doctors. A gratitude for the value brought to us by our growing collections, an excitement for new additions who will be added to our collections, and an openness to be included to others' collections. Congratulations to the class of 2022, and cheers to all being part of each other's collections for many years to come. Thank you.